In Luke chapter 22, from verse 54, we read, "Then, seizing him, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. And when some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She looked closely at him and said, 'This man was with him.' But he denied it. 'Woman, I don't know him,' he said. A little later, someone else saw him and said, 'You also are one of them.' 'Man, I am not,' Peter replied. About an hour later, another asserted, 'Certainly this fellow was with him, for he is a Galilean.' Peter replied, 'Man, I don't know what you're talking about.' Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him. 'Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times.' And he went outside and wept bitterly." I think it's easy for many of us to look at Peter here and just think what utter betrayal Jesus must have felt had he known that one of his closest friends, if not his closest friend, was disowning him on this day, was saying that he did not even know him. So often I think we must look at Peter and think, what an utter loser here. And yet this is also the man whom Jesus invites into his inner circle. This is also the man who Jesus becomes very close with. This is also the man to whom Jesus says that I'm going to build my church upon, I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom. This is also the man that when Jesus returns after having risen and meets him on the beach, says to Peter, "Feed my sheep." I love the story of Peter because the story of Peter is real. Because if we're truly honest with ourselves, we all are a little bit of Peter. We all have moments where we betray Jesus. We all have moments where we disown Jesus. We all have moments where we fail to live up to what is expected of us. And yet the story of Peter is actually a beautiful story because it presents the realness. It presents the positives as well as the negatives of a life following Jesus. It presents the beauty as well as here the ugliness. And so we are reminded that Jesus takes people like Peter, takes people like you and I, people who are broken, people who will at times betray him, people who will never live up to what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And yet he takes us and he continues to say to us, "Feed my sheep. Live as a disciple of mine. Be part of my missionary journey. Be part of my kingdom adventure." And so on this Maundy Thursday, may we be reminded of the person of Peter, but not just of the person of Peter, but actually also of the words and actions of Jesus, who takes a person like Peter, who takes a person like you and I, and invites us to join him, as frail as we are, and who will continue to invite us, each and every one of us, regardless of our brokenness, but to join him in his missionary journey in this world. May our hearts be encouraged by this message this Maundy Thursday. Blessings, my friends.